So first I want to thank Chris Beal for leading off this particular topic for us. When I first met Chris a few years ago, he asked me the same question that he started his talk with, which is, what's the best team that you've ever worked on? And now I think I'm his biggest customer. So for those of you that are consultants, transformation consultants in the audience, that's a really good pickup line. So it is actually my deep pleasure to be here today to talk about our transformation experience at Ford. I think that the theme of my talk here is going to be about going big or going home. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what it means to do agile transformation at a large scale. First, to ask a question, how many of you are familiar with Ford Motor Company? All right, so I don't need to tell you what we do. Let me do just a little bit of market research. How many of you have a Ford vehicle that you drive in your immediate family? Oh, not too bad. Okay, we've got some work to do still in Atlanta. All right, anyway, let's go ahead and get into it. So this is me. I do actually encourage you, if you have questions about what I have to share today, please do reach out to me via email. I'm happy to share our experiences and story with you anytime. So one of the things that, I want to point out one more thing, sorry. I want to point out one additional thing. You'll notice that my presentation doesn't follow the format of all the others that you've seen today. There's a reason for that, and I want to thank Mike for introducing this at the beginning. Transformation is really about a mindset change. And I want to tell you one of the most important things, if you take away one thing from what I have to say today, is that if you're going to lead a change like this, if you're going to go big or go home, you have to be willing to break the rules. So anything that I tell you today, you need to take and test and learn for yourself. In fact, anything that you've heard all day today, you need to try it for yourself and see if it works. So why is Ford on this journey? I've heard a lot today about Atlanta traffic. Any of you have trouble with Atlanta traffic? Yep, this is definitely an emerging problem in the world, right? Our cities are becoming more and more populated. And what happens if we put more cars on the road in Atlanta? Does traffic get better or worse? Yeah, exactly, it gets worse. So Ford is actually, our belief is in the freedom of mobility. Right? And if we put more cars on the road in big cities, that doesn't help you with your freedom of mobility. So we need to think about mobility differently. And how do we help you get from point A to point B in a more effective way? So that's really what's the impetus for us to transform our organization so that we can help you solve that problem. So a little bit about our organization. The transformation that I'm going to tell you about has impacted our technology team across the globe. We've got just under 11,000 employees as part of our organization. You can see distributed in 3 major locations as well as many other smaller ones. So North America in Dearborn, Michigan. We've got offices throughout Europe, mostly in Germany and England, and then a big center in Chennai, India as well. So transforming 11,000 people to operate as agile teams. I told you, go big or go home. So let me talk about that journey and what it's looked like. So Ford has been doing agile transformation for well over a decade, probably longer than that. And we have tried one of every model that exists. I guarantee you that. At least once, probably several times. Some of it's gone well, some of it not so well, mostly from the ground up or middle management down. And the results from that really were spotty, right? If you're not strategic about your transformation investment, you can get spotty results. And we did, and we learned a lot. To be honest, it's positioned us well for where we're at today. But when our business environment started to change around us, we knew we had to do something different, and we had to get dramatic about it. And that's when we got strategic and systemic about how we were going to do this transformation. So in early 2017, we partnered with Pivotal, and that actually created a lot of panic in our organization because a lot of our teams were like, oh, I need to start operating like a pivotal team, which I don't know if anybody's familiar with that model, but it is very highly adaptable, lean startup type of model. And our business isn't all like that. And our teams didn't know how to get from point A to point B. It was creating a lot of uncertainty and fear, actually, in our organization about whether or not people were going to be able to do that. Fortunately, we did some experimentation with that, and we learned that just saying that and telling teams to go be that wasn't really the right approach. And so we did what you've been hearing a lot about today, and I'll talk about how that connects, is we've put more structure in place, and we structured our transformation. And we've been working over the last couple years through that structure and getting some really good results. So I'm excited to share that with you today. So this is what our organization looked like before we started, at least the major components of it. As you can imagine, 11,000 person organization requires some structure to it, some leadership structure. We also had 3 kind of key teams. Strategy and planning focused team, an application development focused team, an application maintenance focused team. This doesn't include our infrastructure and some of the other supporting functions. But each of those teams was kind of operating in their own world with their own leadership structure, their own goals, their own objectives, and handing things over the wall to each other. That was okay to be optimized for efficiency and skill, but not so good to be optimized for delivering value to our customers. So this is one of the key things that we had to change structurally. The other thing that we had in terms of a condition in our organization is, I remember when I mentioned that we had just about one of everything Agile. You can see that across the top. So we had SAFe. We got some good results with SAFe. I mean, it certainly has its drawbacks, but got some good results with it. We had modern Agile floating around. We had product-driven organization from our pivotal relationship. We had somebody invent their own stuff, business agility model. We had FAF at scale, which was our own internal thing. We had lean. We had all of these things going on. The other thing that we had, being a fairly significant Fortune 10 company, is we had a lot of different experts hired by a lot of different people, providing a lot of different advice. I was one of those, an internal expert, as Chris likes to remind me, kind of pulling in different directions, right? So part of the problem with this is that, one, good thing, we learned a lot of things, we experimented with a lot of things, but we weren't all moving to the same goal. And so we had to change that as well. So let me talk a little bit about that structure that we put in place. The very first thing that we had to do, and I know you've heard a little bit about that today, is we had to get our leaders aligned. We knew if we were going to do this well, it had to be a top-down change. And so we formed something that we call a transformation council. This is a team that's actually chaired by our CIO and attended by all of his direct reports and some other key stakeholders that we have in the organization, like architecture. And this is a group of people that have been meeting together with us to define how we want to transform and where we want to be for 2 to 3 hours every week. I'm going to say that again. 2 to 3 hours every week for the last 2 to 3 years. And we're still going, and we're still shaping, and we're still having conversations, and they're still learning about what it means to really lead an organization and to shape an organization like this to get the business outcomes that we need. That's pretty significant. That's a big commitment. But if you're going to transform 11,000 people and you're going to make a difference to preserve the freedom of mobility, it's essential, absolutely essential. The other thing that we had to do, remember I told you that we had all these different flavors of Agile, and we had all these experts running around the organization advocating for those different flavors of Agile, is we had to get really clear about what our true north was. What is it that we wanted to do? And for us, the way we've defined that is we want to become a product-driven organization, and that's been our mantra the last couple of years. So what does that mean? That's might be a new term, I don't know. Might be a new term for some of you. For us, what it means is that we combine the best of a product mindset with a business-appropriate context, Agile system of delivery. And that's a lot of words, but all those words are really, really important to us. First of all, product mindset, right? For everything that we do, we need to get really, really clear about what customer are we doing that for? And that sounds like a simple question. It's one of the hardest questions I've asked our teams inside the organization. Some of them will come to me with a laundry list of 25 people that use their application. Here's my list of customers, Amy. No, I don't think so. We're going to work through that. Who are we really building this thing for? And what problem are they solving to drive value for our business? Getting really clear on that question was really essential in the first step to getting our structure correct. The other question that's really important and a corollary to that is the how do we know? How do we know we're driving value? What are the KPIs that we need to make sure that we're clear on so that we know when we build the next part of this product, this solution, that we're actually going to add value to our business? The next thing, third thing that's really, really super important, and Dennis talked about this earlier today, is we align that to our capability model. So our enterprise business capability model is the backbone of agility for our company. It tells us how all the different pieces of what we build and the teams that build it, how they all fit together to drive value and to operate our business. Key thing to make sure that we're aligned and our structures are aligned properly to be able to start to have the conversation about let's drive more value. For us, we formulate a product hypothesis around those things, and that product hypothesis is really important. It's a mindset, right, around that customer and value creation. Structure our teams so that they have end-to-end responsibility to deliver those products, and then figure out what does market speed mean for that particular customer, for that particular business problem. That is also a really important question for us because we have a big business. We're a Fortune 10 company. In fact, if you think about our company, we have lots of little companies in our company. We have a parts company, we have a financial company, we build vehicles, we offer mobility services. All of those different businesses have different needs for agility. And we need to understand what that is so that we are matching our level of transformation investment and our level of speed as a team to solve that business problem, right? If we're not solving that business problem, then there's no point in doing what we're doing. So super important. All of that helps us get to three key things, which you'll see at the bottom of this slide. These are our key results, and they drive everything that we do. We want to be customer-centric, we want to deliver value at market speed, and we want a vibrant place for our employees to come and work. Those three things drive everything that we do. So Chris talked a little bit about some of the structures, one of those being the transformation office. That's the team that I lead in our organization. That was really important for us after getting our leadership team aligned in a transformation council to establish that office to bring all the different expert voices together to provide a unified voice for that true north. So it was pretty painful, quite honestly, to start this office, bringing all of those people together, rationalizing all the different models and experiences that we had, but doing that has been really powerful. I now have an organization of over 90 people internally, globally, as well as all the different partners that we have to really help those 11,000 people get to that true north. Really, really critical function. If you're going to do anything like this at this scale, that is a definite essential. So what did we do next? The next thing that we did is we started to look at the organization. Remember I mentioned that we had 3 silos that we started with: strategy and planning, application development, application maintenance. The first step after forming the council and the transformation office was we mixed all that up. We brought all those people together so that they were in the same parts of the organization focused on delivering a piece of our business with all the skills that they needed to get that done. So we mixed up the strategy people with the development people, with the maintenance people, and we told them, you're going to have to learn how to work together. So start to get to know each other, because next we're going to make you work as teams. So that was really fun. Then the next thing that we had to do, and we're still doing, honestly, is enrolling all the leaders. right? So I mentioned we have the Transformation Council. We had to form some additional structures between them and the teams that we were about to form so that we could make sure that we had everybody aligned in the organization. So we formed things that we call transformation steering committees and transformation leadership teams. You heard a little bit about that earlier today. We use the same language. And what that really does is it drives that level of accountability for the change through all layers of the organization. We had to get everybody on board to partner with us so that we could do this transformation together. Last but not least is we took a slice of the organization at a time. This is really important, an end-to-end slice of the organization at a time. We helped shape them into those products and team structures where they could deliver autonomously, and thought through what's their level of agility that they need for that particular business context, and help them make that change, right? And that's a simple thing to say, a really difficult thing to do. It involved changing people's roles, changing what teams that they worked on, maybe changing what product that they were working with, changing the way they work, getting them to think about their customers and their value delivery, which they had never done before, and doing that for 11,000 people. So I'll come back to something I started with. You need the structure to make the change. You need to test and make sure that it's going to work, and then you scale it. We're starting to prove that doing that works. I'm going to share some of the results with you. So here are our outcomes so far. So we've been on this journey for about 18 months now, since we formed the Transformation Office. We have shaped our organization into product and service teams. So today we have about 590 teams. We're not done yet, right? We're just starting to touch some areas of the organization, like our infrastructure teams, but 590 teams so far. That represents 70% of our global technology organization. We understand what level of agility each of those teams needs to achieve to support the business outcomes that they're trying to achieve. So you can see that middle section there. It shows you what footprint that we're after. A good chunk of our organization really just needs to become predictable and be able to respond to change. But we do have some areas of our business where we need to really break down dependencies and think about how do we get more autonomous and invest to learn. But the cool thing is we understand that now, and we're well on our way to achieving that footprint. The other key thing that we did is really simplified the roles that we have in the organization, and we also supported reskilling people into those roles. So this is a big piece of what you'll need to do too in a transformation like this. Get really clear on what skills your people need to have to operate in this kind of model and help them get there, right? So we have both individual team-based learning and guilds. We were talking earlier today with the Amway folks. We've got 21 guilds today so far, and more to come, more work to do in that space to help each other learn. More work to do on the product owner side as well. And more work to do in leaders. So Dennis talked a lot about the sequence of change, right, that you'll go through when you go through a transformation like this. The first thing is get the structure right. So we feel like we've got our structure right. We're well on our way to that. The next thing is how do you create more value from that and get your leaders enrolled so that they can help you look at that system and improve that system over time. So that's definitely something ahead of us still. On the bottom here, one of the ways that we measure our success is we have an industry standard index that we use to look at our software development productivity called SDPI. We're well on our way to being top third in the index for productivity, predictability, and responsiveness. This is a key measure of the result of our transformation and really, really important to our CIO. The other thing we've done is we achieved about 5% of our organization in FTE efficiencies. This was just by breaking down those silos. There's a lot more opportunity that we have when we start to look at operating more effectively as teams and increasing our level of automation. And the real benefit will be driving that increased value, and that's what's ahead of us next. In fact, I hope you invite me back next year, because that's the next thing I'm tackling, and I want to talk to you about that. But we are starting to hear feedback about the increase in customer focus, the value that we're creating, the speed that we're able to operate at. In fact, one of my success criteria is when most of our business comes back to us and says, hey, you're going too fast for us, slow down. That's when I know that I'll have been successful. And of course, our employee satisfaction, also really critical. And we couldn't do this work without all of the outstanding partners that we have to do it. So key partner, of course, being Leading Agile, so thanks for having me here today, but also a number of other partners in terms of providing the coaching skills that we need, both from a process and a software skills standpoint. So thanks for having me. I really appreciate having the opportunity, and hopefully you enjoyed the talk.